Hi guys, my name is Bailey. I like to do all things creative and crafty, and I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a breakdown of all the crafts that I'm going to be working on ahead of this week. I printed two patterns. It doesn't look like much right here, but I printed the pattern for a hobo bag, like a slouchy hobo bag, and I also printed a pattern for the poppy top, which I'll put on screen. I recently got like a plaid linen fabric, or like a lightweight linen. I find that like I just want a bag that I can take with me that has everything, and so I want to try and hack that pattern. I'd be able to open from the top so it can open all the way instead of just having one strap that you have to reach around. And I also want to try and see if I can't involve like a water bottle slot in the bag, so it's going to require some pattern hacking, but I think it'll still be fun. The last thing, I've been working on this for the past week. This is the Frosted Mountains sweater on Drops. It is a free pattern online. You do not have to pay anything for it except for the yarn. And I have a bunch of scrap cotton yarn from a bunch of different projects, and I could never figure out what to do with it. Here's the back. And so I was able to find this sweater. It is traditionally made in one color, but like I said, I have a lot of thoughts, and so I don't think that sweaters that are made in one color can't be scrap sweaters. And this is what came about from that ideology. I am not familiar as much with correctly seaming sweaters together, so the plan is to seam the shoulders and maybe the sides. If I follow the pattern of 100%, I would also knit the sleeves flat and seam those together, and I don't think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to just try and see if I can't cast on from the shoulder and the armhole and see if I can't, you know, knit from bottom or top down with the sleeves. So that is my big spiel. I don't know what all I will get to. If anything, this is going to be like a part 1 and a part 2 of Bailey's July makes, but I'm really excited for you guys to walk along with me. I love creating. So yeah, thanks so much, and I will follow up when I pick out what I'm going to do first. Hi guys, so I have had a very, very long day. I picked Wilbur up from daycare. There were accidents everywhere. The weather was really weird, and so I got home a few hours ago, took a shower, planted some marigolds. I'm really excited. And I am finally about to start work on the poppy top. So this is the linen blend that I picked up for this. It's a little bit of a stiffer fabric, but I'm kind of excited about it because I think that for the sake of this top, it'll come out really nice if I do it correctly, fingers crossed. But I am kind of sad because if you've ever made an at-home sewing pattern before, you'll know that there are these little squares on one of the pages, and it works similarly to like a gauge swatch when you're knitting, where you basically measure the swatch on the paper, and it says it's supposed to be like 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters or 2 inches by 2 inches. And you're supposed to measure that to make sure that you're printing at the right scale. I followed all of the instructions to print correctly for both of these patterns, and the poppy top came out almost a 1/4 of an inch smaller than it should be. So I'm a little bit sad about that, but I found out the size that I'm going to use. I'm just going to measure a 1/4 of an inch away from the seam that from like line I'm supposed to cut on, and just do that instead. So I'm knitting a size larger than I normally would, so I think it will be okay, because even if it is a little bit smaller than the intended finished garment size, I think it will still work. So that is where we're at. I've been wanting to sew for a really long time, and I have the pattern behind me. I've been watching Smosh Reddit stories, and I'm just gonna hang out and watch a couple of videos and cut out this piece and then cut out the fabric, and then I'm going to attempt to sew. Hi, so I have to do French bias binding, and I've literally never done that before, so I had to look up a video, and I'm frightened. And that's all this update is, but I'm going to sew. But just know I'm very frightened about what the state of this top is going to be once I do this. This is a terrible angle. I'm gonna sew the binding and then I'm gonna understitch and then I'm going to press it over again. So I'm like sewing 3 times. And I know that there's a purpose for this because I think it's gonna make it have a clean edge, but I don't understand why I couldn't just do a normal French seam where you sew it and then you flip it over and you sew it again. So I'm gonna have to look up why that is a thing because I'm just curious. But anyways, fingers crossed. The devastation I feel right now is diabolical. She's inside out right now, but like the seams, like, I don't know, I think they eat. They're not perfect, but like it looks so good and it doesn't fit. I'm being really vulnerable with you right now, so I'm just gonna need you to be nice, okay? This is where we're at. So I think that the top itself is fine, except the armhole is like way too high, like way too high and too tight. The armhole, if it was lower, this problem would not be happening, and I do think that the neckline would be a little bit better too. I think it's causing stress on the neckline, so I'm devastated, if I'm being completely honest. I'm unbelievably upset, and I did in fact finish a pint of ice cream. I tried this on, it did not fit, and I went and finished a pint of ice cream. It was 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and should I be in bed by now? Yes. Was I having so much fun? Yes. Here's my plan. It's gonna involve a seam ripper, so I'm kind of sad, but I'm thinking if I seam rip and add a dart, like even from here up, I think I can save it. Do I have enough fabric to make another one of these if I do mess up? Yes, I do. Everything is safe, everything is okay. We're learning and we're trying, and that's what I just have to keep telling myself. Okay, plan of attack, seam rip, be kind to myself, potentially add a dart. I don't know. This whole thing is very strange because I gave myself 1 centimeter of seam allowance like the pattern said to. I made it 2 sizes bigger than I was planning on because I knew that my pattern cut weird and like it was printed weird, and I wanted it to be a little bit bigger than normal. So how did I end up with a top too small when I went 2 sizes higher on the finished garment measurements? Like, make that make sense. I made my top! I'm literally so excited. So last night it was really tight around my bust and I went to bed and I was like, I'm just going to pause. I'm going to set everything down and I'm going to reapproach later. But what I did this morning is I seam ripped and then I added a side panel and I tried to make it match as much as I could with the armholes. And I think I did a pretty good job, but I'm just really excited because I made a 100% linen top and the insides are a bit messy. I definitely need to clean them, but I put it on this pair of slacks because I was like, oh my gosh, would I wear this to work? And I think I would. And there are some things obviously that like I wish I had done differently, like, or wish that had just turned out better. If I came out of the womb knowing how to sew, I wouldn't have like gleaned this much enjoyment from sewing and like learning. Like, I learned about French bias binding. I took the time to do a zigzag stitch on the side panels and on the bottom so it wouldn't fray as much. Like, there's a lot of really cool things that I worked on for this, and I feel like I'm much more excited to go into other projects, but I'm just really excited and I don't really want to take it off. Okay, so the next thing I want to work on is this sweater. I want to seam it together. I traditionally do not do well with seaming sweaters together. The pattern online says that I'm supposed to make the sleeves flat, and while it did go very, very quickly knitting back and forth, I honestly just don't want to anymore. which is like whatever, I guess, you know. So I'm going to wear my cute new top that I made, and I'm going to start learning how to seam stuff together, and I'm gonna watch Vanderpump Rules because a coworker recommended it to me, and I've just been having it play in the background, and it's very silly and cheesy, but they say everything in that show twice. I don't know if you guys have ever realized that in a lot of reality TV, like Love Island does it too, where it's really nice to watch when I'm not watching it because they just tell me everything that's happening. Like, I could watch it, and I do catch some stuff when I do watch it, but like, it's not like if I'm like watching Breaking Bad or like a mystery show and I'm like missing the subtext there. Like, there is no subtext. It's Vanderpump Rules. Going into crafting, knowing and like giving myself the permission to fail has honestly been the coolest like green flag I've given myself. Like, it's okay. It's not going to be perfect. If it's not perfect, at least you learned. Like, it's okay to throw things away. It's okay to donate things that aren't working. And like, that freedom and that realization for me has just been so freeing, honestly. I will see you when I am seaming together this sweater. So she is seamed together. Here are my shoulder seams, you can see. Here are the seams on the side. You can definitely see the line, but like, I don't know. I've made some sloppily seamed sweaters in my day. I've been not very neat and tidy with my seaming before. But the fact that this is how it is, like, oh, I love it. I don't know if I would have ever picked these colors on my own. Like, I don't think I would have been like, yes, this is exactly what the sweater is going to look like, but I think that's the nature of like a scrappy sweater, and what makes knitting really cool is like, if I crocheted with this, I would not have been able to make something like this because it just eats up so much yarn. And so I'm very thankful that I know both skills because I can carry my yarn a lot further. I was very conscious. If you look at the pattern on drops, a lot of these patterns, a lot of these sections are like 2 or 3 put together, but I was very conscious because I knew I didn't have a lot of this brown color, and I wanted to try and see if I could make the front and the back match. So I cut the brown short, and then I cast on the yellow, and then like the blue right here is the garter stitch part of the yellow section of the sweater. Like, it's like a whole thing. I think it's fun. I think it's really cool. This is like, hey, I've had this yarn for 5 years. It's either time to knit with it or give it away, and I knit with it. So rock and roll. I'm really happy and really grateful that I get to spend my weekends like this. Like, there's something really special about it. Creating so much this weekend, I feel like just reminds me about how thankful I am to be like healthy enough and to be able to have access to the material that I want to use and stuff like that. I don't mean to sound super cheesy or super campy and silly about the whole thing and be extra about it. I held on to things, and I'm also letting go of things, and there's like a very nice like flow with the waves of like, let's try something. If it doesn't work, it's okay. And you're not failing, you're just learning. Regardless, I'm going to try and make sleeves. A part of me wants to be really dramatic and make like a really chunky sleeve that ends right here. I think that will look silly, but we shall see. I'm not going to knit very, very tight sleeves. I want this to be like big and boxy and summery and cool. Very happy. I will come back when I have more of a sleeve knit up and we can talk about it. Okay, so my hair is still kind of drying from the shower, but I finished my top. I opted not to do a collar. I am banned from knitting. I'm not allowed to knit today. My elbows and my arms really hurt, and I'm really scared about getting a long-term overuse injury, so no more knitting for today, at least. I'm trying to give myself a break. Rather irritating, if you ask me. The other thing I made was this dog bandana. So I've been playing around with a bunch of lace stitches recently, and I made this little bandana, and the plan is to sew this down, have a little channel. I'm going to put this on my Etsy, which is scary to say, but it was so much fun to make and to knit, and it was a very quick knit too, so I feel okay about it. Where I am with my scrap yarn stash, I have just been like zooming, trying to like create new stuff and like use the yarn I have, and like it's a really cool, it's almost like I've been given permission to just make things without having to make a big project. So I can make small knitting or crochet projects too. And speaking of, this is the last thing I knit last night. I like could not go to bed. Could not. I was up until like maybe 1:30 in the morning. Could not sleep to save my life. And I have this book that I checked out from the library. It is the ultimate all-around stitch dictionary. It was super cool that I found it. I found it like on a whim, but this is what the gauge swatch I made is. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with this. I have a general idea for a little video I want to make, but honestly, I'm just really happy I made it because I think it's really cute and fun, and I think I forget sometimes that you can like actually shape with knitting. Like this, it like when I pull it, it looks more flat, but if I turn it around, you can like see the shaping and like the puckering from where I was increasing and decreasing, and I am genuinely very, very happy with that. So I don't really have any plans for knitting today, but I was chosen to test knit the Stingray top by Vera Grazia. So I'm just going to set all of that aside and get that ready for when I can knit tomorrow. I've just been making so much stuff lately, and I'm really, really happy, and I'm really excited about everything. I have a package coming in from Drops tomorrow because I want to make these two tops. I want to make another wildflower top, and I want to make this one that I can't remember the name of, but I will definitely put on screen. I'm just really excited. I love making stuff. I love creating. I am just happy. Hello. So this is the end of my no knit day, and I was sewing. I'm making the hobo bag. This is one of the pieces. I don't know if you can tell in this light, but I quilted it, and I'm just using one piece of thin batting because I wanted some structure for it. The inside is going to be a like tan color. I do this thing with hobbies, and I did it with crochet and I did it with knit, and now I'm doing it with sewing, where I get a little overzealous and I just get really excited. I'm like, oh, like I know how to do that, so let me add more. And I really wanted to add a pocket to the inside of this bag because I have a water bottle that I carry with me, and I thought it would be nice to have a slot for the water bottle. And it's just really frustrating, and I went through all the work to like make a quilted pocket, which means that it wasn't just a pocket, it was quilted, so it took like 10 extra minutes. And it's a square pocket that's supposed to fit a cylinder. I wasn't really thinking about it, and it doesn't really feel like it fits it correctly. And so now I'm like, well, do I get rid of the pocket or do I move it? And so I think I'm going to seam rip the pocket and just have my own little bag and then reapproach that part of it at a later date, because I do think it's a good idea. But now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I would do it differently. I just don't have the sewing expertise to be able to do it, if that makes sense. Like, I know exactly what I want the design to look like. I just don't know enough on how to get there. And I know I can do it, but it's just gonna take a little bit more learning. So quilting takes so long, and unfortunately, like sometimes I just want something really easy to make, and I was kind of getting frustrated. I'm not having fun anymore. Like, I just need to put this down. And so my plan of action tonight is just to clean my house, and like, you know when you sew and then you have to bring out one more thing and one more thing and one more thing? That's kind of where I'm at right now. My whole kitchen table is lost to this project, and I can't even really see straight. I feel like I'm flipping over my tongue all the time, tripping over my words. I'm just gonna set it down because I love to make, but I don't have to make at the speed of light, and quite frankly, who am I making this for if not me? I am happy with the bag. I think it will be so cute when I'm done with it. I just need to be more patient and kind with myself. Go figure. I'm really happy and really grateful for like the ability to create and the fact that I'm getting to make so many things right now, but I think I'm learning a really important lesson, and that is that creativity and creating is not an exponential process. And in the same way that people talk about instant gratification from social media, I inadvertently created a negative feedback loop built on like getting the serotonin from finishing a project, being so fulfilled, and then jumping right into the next one. I'm a little annoyed with myself for letting it happen, but I also think that that's just like humanity and like what happens when you are learning and trying new things. Like, of course I would be excited, and there's nothing wrong with being excited, but it's just something I've noticed. Like, I'm never going to create more and more and more and more. Quilting takes a long time, and I don't do it often. I know I don't have a perfect sewing machine, and I am learning, and that is okay. Even though nothing is wrong inherently, I'm still noticing a little bit of frustration for myself, because I'm like, dang, like why am I not moving fast enough? Well, the point isn't to move fast. The point is to enjoy the time that I have that I'm not working. I did clean up. I put everything away. and the only thing I have out on my kitchen table right now is my sewing machine and the fabric that I'm going to sew tomorrow. That's it. And then I'm going to revisit it later and with a little bit more calm, because realistically all I have to do is quilt the rest of the one green piece that I have left to quilt, and then I'm going to sew the side seams together, and then I'm going to flip the whole thing inside out. So like realistically speaking, there isn't really a whole lot of work left for me to do. I just need to remember to breathe and be kind. Another thing that I realized is I've been writing down all of my notes for sewing and all of my notes for knitting recently in my notebook. It's really, really helping me because I am trying to write my notes so that I can come back to it later if I want to. But I'm also realizing that by writing my notes, I'm thinking about things a little bit more. With sewing specifically, if you don't sew very often, then you might not know this, but if you sew a lot, then you're probably going to laugh at me. A lot of it is ironing, a lot of it is like turning your seams over so you don't have raw edges, and a lot of it is flipping things inside out, especially when you're making things that aren't clothing. And even with clothing, you still flip stuff inside out. But I do think I'm learning a lot of lessons this week specifically. Like, making is okay, and making is great, but I am not a machine. I'm not going to create exponentially, and that is not a fault of me. So I don't know. I hate to get philosophical, so sorry if I'm like explaining the most basic things ever and being really dramatic about it. I love doing this so much, and I think trying to look at it from a point of view of someone who always makes really lofty goals for herself, trying to remember to honor that and honor those goals, but also bring myself down to earth a little bit more. Maybe not to earth, but like in the atmosphere, you know? So I will come back, and I think what I'm going to do, just because even though I love filming, it does get a little bit tedious trying to film B-roll constantly while I'm learning how to do something. I'm just gonna let this be my last little clip, and then I'm going to show off everything that I made in this video. So thanks, and I hope you guys like everything that I made. It's super, super early on Friday, and the lighting is kind of weird because of that, so just hang in with me. But I wanted to share everything that I made. So this is the poppy top. Unfortunately, I think it's an AI pattern. I couldn't tell for sure, and I couldn't 100% confirm, but I definitely think that that might add to why I had so many sizing issues. I printed it per the instructions, the gauge swatch was still off, and I also sewed it 2 sizes bigger and with an extra 1/4 inch of seam allowance to account for the fact that the whole thing was messed up. Was it the right way to do that? I have no idea, but you know what? It's okay. Basically, the first time I tried this on, it was way, way, way too tight, and so what I did is I added a panel. Some people have told me that you can't even tell that there's a panel, which is kind of cool, but like I know it's there. So if I were to do this again in the future, a few things I would change. Basically, by adding the panel, I made it wider, right? But I didn't make it longer. So I think because sometimes I can feel it right here, and I didn't make the armhole longer. So if I were to make this again, I would definitely cut it way bigger. I would do French seams on the inside, because this is partially because I did add a panel, but if you look, it's like fraying really, really badly. And only after I sewed this did I realize that linen does do that, and like that's a very common thing for linen to do. I think it's the same thing as when people feel constricted, like when they're wearing turtlenecks. Like I feel constricted when I have too much fabric right here. So I'm very happy with it, and I definitely think I'm going to try and pick up the fabric to make a different color, but I don't know that I feel comfortable sharing the pattern because I don't know if it's an AI one or not. I looked it up online. I had a mix of yeses and nos, so that might add to why I unfortunately got stuck with this top. So this is the sweater that I made. It is the Frosted Mountain sweater by Drops Design. It's completely free. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on Drops, but I will say that it is one of those things where I am trying to learn about different sweater constructions, and this is definitely one that I was curious about. I think technically it's a drop shoulder construction, but I've always been very averse to knitting things in panels, and this is my PSA to not be scared to do that, and to be a little bit more free and open with your perspective, I guess, because I've always been knitting things in raglan. I'm kind of getting tired of raglans. I feel like everyone does a raglan, everyone does raglan increases, no more. And so it's honestly really fun to work with a lace pattern and figure out how to seam things together correctly and figure out how to pick up stitches, and this is just a very, very fun knit. So like I said, scrap yarn, worsted weight yarn. I chose to make the sleeves closer to a 3/4 length, which I'm really, really happy about. I think for like a spring into early fall, it's like summer sweater, this is going to work really well because I don't have to worry about rolling up my sleeves constantly. I know that I'm wearing a sweater, like it's a little bit heavier than if I were to use a fingering weight cotton, but I do think that that is still kind of dope. Like, I'm really proud of it and I'm really happy with it, and I'm wearing my linen top right under it. I just threw this on over, but if I were to wear like a bralette or something, I think this would be really cool to get a breeze. So very happy with this. I am super just thankful and excited that I woven all the ends and I took the extra time to learn how to seam things together properly. I still need to work on it a little bit, but if I turn this inside out and show you especially the shoulder seams, it's so good. So I'm just very, very, like, my knits are starting to look neater, and that's really, really fulfilling because I am starting to make things that have a more polished finish, which is sick. Earlier in this video, I kind of talked about how I was creating very, very, very fast and not thinking of a bull in a china shop. Like, I just like came in and I was like, I'm gonna create. And I definitely think that that is totally fine and cool and warranted, and I am very proud of myself for letting myself be so free with my excitement. But I was trying to make things at such a rate that it started to not be fun anymore, and it started to feel like a chore and something I had to do. I would love to change all these things, but I'm changing too many things. Let's just start small and then revisit. And so I kept the strap as one, and then I also added a pocket for my little water bottle. This is her. I am very happy with it. I have not ironed it. It literally came out of the dryer and I took it to work. I have not even chopped away all of the little strings from quilting, but I was so happy with this that I just wanted to take it with me. I am very happy I made the straps longer. I think that it fits me and the style of the bags that I prefer more, and so I am also very happy with the water bottle because I have a little like fake Stanley and it sits in there kind of well, and with the handle too, and it's a nice pocket to have like my car keys and my headphones and stuff like that. And I honestly don't even think that you can really tell that it's quilted, which is like the funniest part about all of this. I think you can tell kind of up close, but I color matched my threads so well and the batting is so thin that you can't really tell it's quilted, which is kind of irritating, but it's fine. Just the act of seaming all of the quilted lines across this piece of fabric and the backside took me over the course of 2 days, maybe like 5 or 6 hours. Maybe that's me and how slow I am with sewing, but I don't know. It was just a learning process. So I'm definitely gonna revisit one day, but it's gonna be a minute. That is everything that I made this week. I made a top and a dog bandana and a sweater and a bag, and that was a really, really, really long week. I definitely learned that I need to be more patient with myself. I have been trying to consume less social media, and it's been definitely very much helping to consume less, but sometimes I will still go on social media and scroll, and I'll find myself losing interest and getting frustrated. And so especially like setting things down, like realizing that I was hurting my elbow by knitting as fast as I was and deciding not to knit and deciding to put everything away and revisit sewing, like that is a skill in itself, is to like stop while you're ahead, and like realize and like know myself well enough to know that I should pause before jumping into a bunch of things. I don't know, I guess a good example is like if I'm taking a really long road trip, I'm not going to go on one tank of gas. I'm going to like have to refill eventually, and that doesn't make the road trip any less fun, but I just do have to stop for gas. And so those little pauses during the week are my stops for gas, and I definitely felt my cup refilling much quicker. So at least I know more about myself now and about how I like to craft, and I know and recognize that I'm being a lot kinder to myself too, which is so rewarding, especially when you are trying to just be kinder to yourself in general. So win! This is what I made this week. I'm very, very excited. Thanks for sticking around. I love sewing, and I think it's definitely testing my patience far more than knitting and crochet ever did. So I'm going to continue to learn how to sew, but keep an eye out for those videos. Thank you for watching and hanging out with me. I hope that your creative projects are going well. I hope that you're giving yourself grace while you create, and I will see you guys in the next one.